Welcome to the last series on how to set up OTAC MFA on PLCnext devices. So far, we have installed the OTAC MFA server and the OTAC MFA client. We've also set up the licenses and configured the client to point to the server IP address. In today's tutorial, we'll be focusing more on the end user, how they can set up the mobile app, and how administrators can set up a brand new user to log in with MFA on PLC devices. Now, we'll be going through a number of steps today. First, we'll look at how we can download the mobile app and set it up for first-time use. Then on the admin portal, we'll be setting up users' role information, and then look at how we can onboard a new user. And in the end, we're going to test the whole flow of the user's MFA login into the PLCnext device. On your Android or iOS App Store, search for the OTAC app by swIDch. In my case, I'll be using an Android device. Now click on Install. And once the app has been downloaded and installed, click on Open. Now, the first time you open the app, it'll take you to a setup wizard. Click on Getting Started and click again. It'll also ask you for the camera permissions. Now, this is to allow for scanning of QR codes. So I'm going to select here only while using the app. Now, next, it's going to ask me to set up a PIN number. Now, this is for security reasons. So every time you open the mobile app, it's going to ask you to enter the same PIN number. So I'm going to select a PIN number here and re-enter the same PIN number. And now I've successfully set up a PIN number. Now, if you want to use biometrics instead of using a PIN number, you can always go under Settings and click on Security Settings and then change to biometrics over here. So now next time I open the app, instead of asking me for the PIN, it's going to ask me for my biometrics that I've set up on this Android device. Now, these are the roles that your PLCnext device supports. The exact role name might differ depending on the PLC model that you're using. And the reason we need to define these roles in our app is because we're outsourcing the authentication from the PLCnext device onto the OTAC MFA app. And once we have authenticated the user, we need to inform the PLC what role that user has or what permissions within that PLC the user has. Now, one of the benefits of having roles defined in a central system is the user management and the authorization of what the user can do across multiple PLCs becomes a lot more simpler. Now, to define these roles, head over to the OTAC admin portal and log in with your admin account. And on the left side, under OTAC management, click on role management. Now, to define a role, simply click on register a role on the top right. And this will pop up a new window. And here I'm going to select a role called admin. And we're going to define a few more roles. So let's go ahead and create a role for a viewer. And then a role for an engineer. Here we go. So this is where we can define all the roles. Later on in the video, we'll see how these roles can be assigned to individual users and how they can be used for authorization. The user registration happens in tandem with the end user on their mobile device and the administrator logged into the OTAC admin portal. For the registration process to be secure, we generate a secret data for the individual user that is securely stored on the user's mobile device and the OTAC server. Now, the user's mobile app will generate an 8-digit pairing key. On the admin side, the administrator is going to input the user details along with this pairing key. Now, the OTAC system is going to now generate a user secret data, and it's going to encrypt that secret data with the pairing key that it received from the user's mobile phone. It's also going to create a user object and set its status as inactive. It's going to return that encrypted data back to the admin portal and display it as a QR code. On the mobile app side, the user is now able to scan this QR code and then is able to decrypt the secret data using the pairing key that it generated in the first step. And it's going to re-encrypt this data with a new key and store it in the trusted execution environment. Now, the reason for this pairing key was mainly to encrypt the data, but to also make sure when we're displaying the QR code, no one in between is able to intercept this QR code and extract the user data information. Now, at this point, we have securely exchanged the secret data between the user's mobile device and the OTAC server. Now, to make sure everything is working smoothly, the mobile app is going to generate an OTAC code for the first time. The administrator is going to input that on the admin portal. The system is going to verify whether the OTAC is correct or not. And if it is, it's going to set this user status as active and return the result back. Now, let's see this in action. On the right side, I've got my mobile phone mirrored, and on the left side, I've logged in as the administrator to the admin portal. Now, for the end user on the mobile app, they will click on Add Account, and this is where they're going to see this user key that is being generated. The administrator at the same time will go under OTAC Management and click on User Management, and then select Register a New User. I'm going to select the default system ID that the system comes with. I'm going to select a username or a user ID, in this case, Vinny. I'm going to select this user key, which is the one that is coming from the user's mobile phone, which is 424108. The QR code expiry time is how long in the next step, how long the QR code is going to be valid for. And the account name is really for display purposes on what account to show on the user's mobile phone. So I'm just going to select Demo Lab here and click Save. And on the user's phone now, I can click on Scan QR code once the QR code's been displayed on the admin portal. So let's go ahead and scan this code. So once the QR code's been scanned, remember that this QR code is displaying the secret data, which is encrypted with the user's key. And at this point, we've exchanged successfully the secret data between the user's mobile app and the server. And to make sure everything's working fine, it's generated the OTAC code for the first time, which we're going to input here, which is G9EGYMAC. And click Submit. So the registration has been completed successfully on the admin side, and the end user is going to select Next. The display name of the account is shown here, and click Finish. So now we've successfully onboarded a new user, and they're able to generate these OTAC codes and use it for login. Now, the last thing to do before we see these OTAC codes in action is to onboard a new device for this user that we just onboarded. So on the right side of the user, we have a device registration button. So click on Add New Device. Now, device in this context is a PLC device. So we're going to define, first of all, we're going to select the default system ID here. We've already selected that this is a device for Vinny. We're going to define what role this user is allowed to use when they're logging into the specific PLC. So I'm just going to select Administrator. And PC device ID, we don't use it in this version, but in future releases, we'll be able to authorize not just which PLC they're allowed to log in, but which PC they are coming in from as well. And PLC device ID is the IP address of the PLC that they're allowed to log into as well. So in my case, the client PLC ID IP address is 192.168.1.100. And I'm going to just go ahead and click Save. And this will now save the device object, and then the system knows which PLC the user is allowed to log into with which roles. Now, to test the user is able to log in using OTAC MFA, I've got the WBM open on the right side and my phone screen mirrored on the left side of the screen. Every time you open the mobile app, it's going to force you to provide either your biometrics or PIN as a first factor of authentication. So as soon as I provide my biometrics on my phone, it unlocks the app and shows me the OTAC code. Now to log in, I will select the user Vinny over here, and I'll log in. Instead of password, I'm going to use this OTAC code, which is generated every 60 seconds with a new code. So in this case, it's going to be ON0Y9Z2D. And click on login. So now you can see I was able to log in with admin privileges that we set up in the previous use case, and I'm allowed to log into the WBM. So this brings us to the end of the series. We've managed to download and install the OTAC MFA client and the server app, and we've managed to configure the PLCnext devices to use OTAC MFA. If you have any questions, feel free to contact us.